Hello, I'm Robert, and you're welcome here in my busy little shop. On today's episode of What's on My Workbench, we're going to finish that cartridge belt for the 4570 rifle. I hope you find it entertaining and worthwhile. If you're unsure of why my intro is starting like this, go back to last week's video. I'll put a link in the description as well to see the first video on making this 4570 cartridge belt. And it's really a beautiful belt. At the end here, I'll try to get some photos from Jerry, the gentleman that I built this for. And but we'll just jump right in here where we left off yesterday. I appreciate you taking time to be with me in the shop today. So I've got the adhesive on and it's tacked up. We're ready to laminate these two together. I just need to get these two areas lined up here, and I'm going to use Resin in here. I could put it on now, but I thought if I waited till I got it assembled, if I'm off a little bit, that the Resin in there would help seal some of those edges. Or Tan-Kote. I'm going to use Tan-Kote on this because I'm going to use Tan-Kote on the belt. So let me go ahead and get this on here, and I marked here where this end lines up. So let me get started here. We've been getting a little weather here. Maybe first real snow this evening. That'd be kind of fun, since I don't have to go to work. I do have a field trip tomorrow going on, and I'll see if I can bring you along for it. If I can, it should be interesting. Whew. There we go. They're laminated together. I'm going to tap this around my money pouch here, and we'll see how it looks. I think that'll work. I mean, you could do zippers and all of that, but I've got enough going on with this belt. But I think that's going to work. I see no reason why not. Let's put a little bit of folding money in there and see what it does. There's a place to squirrel away a little bit of money when you're traveling. Now I have the two layers laminated together, I'll just tap in my edges, and I'll end up burnishing in the middle. Alright, now I'm just going to give it a little bit of burnish. I'll be ready for some trimming and sanding here. And then I'll put in my stitch line, and we're going to do a saddle stitch all the way around this belt. Before I sand it, I'm just going to go ahead and trim these corners. Clipped corner. I'll take it over and sand it, and then I'll be back when we get ready to lay in our stitch line. I finished my sanding, and as I've done many times, it would be easy right now to start the rounding process, but to me it makes it harder to get the stitch line where you want it. And I don't have a ton of room here. I'm going to come in pretty close to the top of these cartridge loops here. So I'm set at, I think, a little bit more than 3/16 of an inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut my groove here. And then I'll have to come through with my stitching chisels and get my holes laid out on here. Once I finish that, then I will come through and round these. I'll try to get these corners right here. All right, so I completed putting in my stitch line, and now I'm going to use my 5mm stitching chisels, kind of seeing how these play into these corners, because what I don't want to do is have it kind of come in here and then when you stitch around there that it clips that corner. So I think the thing to do is to start with it in the corner here. And then come back to this other corner. So it works out good. And then what I don't do is when I come this way, I'll mark where it's at, and then I come to my first mark and create these holes here. I don't want to misshapen that corner. So I'm just going to march around here. This is the 5mm stitching chisels that I purchased from Weaver Leather 3 years or more ago. And they've seen a lot of belts. This Pondo board is getting pretty abused. I used to keep leather between it and the belt, and I've gotten a little bit lazy in doing that. Plus, I think the Pondo board is so chewed up. The one thing I don't do though is, if you watch, I do that and I pull straight up, make sure that I'm through, because what I don't want to do is drive it into a cutting board and then tip and put that pressure on that last tine. So I'm going to work my way all the way around this belt, and we will be back when I'm ready to apply my stitching. There's going to be some time involved on this one for sure. I'll be right back. So here we are. The next step on here is I need to work on the billets here that will turn that belt blank into a functioning belt. It's going to be in the Ranger style belt. So the belt itself, the body part of it will be 3 1/4 inches wide. The working part of it, where the holes are for the adjustment and the buckle, are 1.5 inches wide. And I have done some calculations to come up with the total length that I need, and I need 13.5 inches on the whole end of it. So let's get this cut to length and shaped properly here. I'm going to complete the same clipped end on here that I created on the big part of it, and that is going to kind of mirror this shape of this buckle here of the clipped end. And I need this piece to be 13.5 inches long. We'll measure out here 13.5. Put a little mark here. To attach this, I've decided to use the burr and post brass rivets to attach it. So I will have 2 here and 2 here, and then the holes running out this way. That's going to be what attaches this to the belt, which is plenty strong. But to mirror the image of the belt, or to complete the image, I'm going to create a stitching pattern all the way around this piece here. And once again, it's really more decorative than anything else. But there's nothing wrong with keeping in mind the visual appeal of a project. So I'm going to set up here. I'll use the same 5mm stitching chisels and the same tiger-ritza thread and complete stitching all the way around this billet. So to get this looking the way I think would look right, I'm probably making things a little bit more complicated than they need to be, which is not totally unusual for me. But what I'm going to do is I will start my stitching on like here and come across to here. I'll come over and this direction. Then I'm going to contact adhesive this together like this, and I'll complete my stitching all the way around those 2 layers ending back there. So when you visually look at it, all you'll see is those stitching all the way around there. That'll give me the strength needed for this buckle end where it's there. It will give me the sewn together part of the belt. And I suppose I could just do decorative stitching on the top here, but I like to have the 2 layers hand sewn together. So the first thing I need to do though is I need to get it cut to the length, which is 6 1/4 inches from this folded over spot here. So let me mark that, or check it. I've got a mark on here that I used while I was calculating. Yep, 6 1/4. So it's right here on this mark. Let me do my clipped corners. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use my stitching chisels and make my marks all the way around here. And I'm going to go ahead and set up and do the sewing on here like I described. In the meantime, I'm going to finish the stitching on the belt, and we'll come back when I have it. I guess we'll be getting really pretty close to the assembly of this, and I've got to figure out how I want to do all my edges. Before I attach these billets to the belt, I'll go ahead and do whatever type of edging I want to do. And I think on this part of it here, the area that's hooked down to the belt, I'm just going to do the front, but from, let's say it's from here all the way around, then we'll completely round this piece here. And I'm just going to round the face of this because it's going to be pretty much all attached down to the belt. So these will just be the areas that need to be done as well. But let's get on with the sewing, and then I'll come back to there. So here is the billet that will have the holes in it, and this is the end that will be anchored down to the belt. I'm going to wait to put the holes in until I get it all set. I've said it before, but sometimes you get things placed a little bit different or whatever, but I'll do my final measurement for the buckle to the hole as indicated by the client, and then I'll have extra adjustment holes, but I'll do that after I get it attached. But I thought I would come back here and show, in case it wasn't clear, I started stitching over here, stitched down on the back side, transferred to the other side, and stitched out to here. And then the rest of this is going to get sewn together with the contact adhesive holding it and probably doing more of the work than really the stitches are. But I thought maybe it was easier to show you here. I tried to describe the process that I used to make this part of the billet. And I've said before, and I've had some people make, oh, you could comment, you could do this or you could do that. And I'm fine with that. I think anybody that's not willing to listen to somebody else that has experience would be silly. And I left the buckle sitting out here because I'll tell you what, I'm glad I did. I looked down, I'm like, oh, I don't want to forget to put the buckle in this part of the billet here before I get it attached. But I'm attaching this one differently than you typically do on a Ranger belt. And you'll see that when I get it attached on there. Just kind of the way that the design worked out for me. I'll say it, this is similar to what I've said before, kind of a design build type of project here. Some would say that means you're making it up as you go, but that's not the case. So let me get the second coat of adhesive on here, and then I'll come back. I'll show you how I line it up when I put the buckle in here. 2 coats of contact adhesive on there, allowed that to tack up, and now we're going to put the buckle through here. This is the top. Just trying to make sure I get it the right way on there. Don't want to go through all that trouble and put it on there wrong. So if it buckles on there that way, that would be correct. Yep. So put it on here. Bring that through. Get these needles here out of the way. Back through this other side here. Don't get those stuck together quite yet. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the needles in here. Let me visually get this lined up first, make sure I'm on the right count. Yep. About did it, didn't I? Get these lined up. Stop. Oh, closer. Closer. You know, I could have probably left the back flap long and trimmed it once I had it aligned, and it would take at least one alignment point out of this mix. And now that I have it like this, what I'm going to do is I'll continue taking my stitching out and around and back here. Actually comes from this side here. I'll do a double stitch here. Not really because it necessarily needs it so much, but then I'll have a double stitch over here, and that will visually make that look the same. You'll see it through the window here on this buckle. And I did, not hiding it there, I ended up one off. So it would be better to leave that long. But the way that this is going to be attached to the belt, that's going to be pinned down here with 2 post rivets here and a couple here and probably a couple here because I've got 2 different types of keepers that are going to be in there. So that won't be visible or noticeable. All right, so I'll go ahead and work my way around here with my stitching chisels. I'll get it sewn in so it looks like this, and then we'll be ready for the edge work before the final assembly. I do have to make the 2 loops, but those are pretty simple to make. So I'll be back here in just a little bit. All right, so I've worked on these elements here. This is the loop. This loop here will go around the belt on the back side to hold the tail on the from the other end of this belt. It'll bypass on the back, and that'll keep it from wanting to inch out or creep out on both sides. So that loop goes that way, and then this loop goes this way. That will hold this billet when it comes through here. And I'm not sure that it really needs it. And what I mean by that is this buckle being a center bar buckle, this helps act like a loop, but there's quite a bit of adjustment available here, because we talked about this, going over maybe just a shirt and jeans, but also maybe, depending on the season, going around, a jacket on top of a light jacket. So I'm just going to go through here and stitch this together. And on these wider ones, what I do is I create, a sewn X pattern going back and forth like this a couple times around here. And this holds everything in place. Let's see if this makes sense here to you. Get this needle in here. I don't have any extra thread, but I think I have plenty of thread. So there's that one, like this, and then I'll do the exact same thing with this needle and go across here as well. I'm just trying to see here visually. I'm going to do that with this loop, and the same thing with this loop. And then we'll come back here. You know what? Let me go ahead and show you what I'm going to do on the edge finishing, and then I can complete all of the edge work and have it good to go here when we get back. So let me set this aside here. And on the edge finishing, I'm going to use the number 3 on these parts. So let's go ahead and do that here. And on this one, if you remember, I'm going to just do the top, because the back's going to go against the belt. I think it makes a tighter and better looking finish if you don't do that part of it. In other words, it'll be like this, and the back will be square along there. So that's for that one. This one here, this is the end that's going to be fastened down. So this is a number 3 as well. The number 3 is what I typically use on my regular belts. And this leather that I'm using for this is that same thickness. So let's work my way around here. Someone said back a ways, it's cool, just kind of winging the pattern. And I guess there is some wing in it, but in some ways I'm building it just kind of like you would build a Ranger belt. It's just in bigger proportions. So it's not really quite so much wing in it as it looks. From there, this is the area it's going to be fastened down. And there are times when I get to the next phase, or I'm getting ready to work on the next phase, and sometimes it has to sit for a day because I'm working out maybe a problem or an issue with that. So if this was on the other end, it's going to go on there like that. Down on the other end, it's longer here because part of it tucks behind. So on the main body of the belt, I'm going to use my number 4 Ron's edger. And I think I've decided I'm not going to burnish these edges. I don't think that's how it would look traditionally back then. I'm not saying that they didn't put an edge on there, but I think it will have more of a worn look if I don't put that on there. So I'm not going to burnish these edges. And I know a lot of people that say they like to use this bigger number 4 edger on, on more of my regular traditional size belts. I just don't like that big of a round over on it. And this is the rough outside on the back. And I'm going to complete the same thing all the way around here. And this back on the rough out, it's only going to receive an oil finish on there. So I'll be back when I get ready to do the final assembly here. So give me just a few minutes to do these steps, and I'll be right back. All right, so we are ready now, I believe, to mount this buckle in. I've made my loops. These are the keepers. This one will be for the strap in with the holes in it for adjustment. This will be for the back part of the belt that slides in behind it in the Ranger style. And I just need to get my spacing the way I want it. I'll have 2 connectors here, 2 here, and 2 here as well. And you could put this closer, but this is going to do the work of a keeper, so I think it makes sense to bring this out here. So I think the first thing to do is to go through here and line out the spacing. And I'm going to use a burr and post rivet with brass. This will be the burr part of it. And I've had people say that the burr should be on the back. I like the look of it on the front. I've seen people do it that way as well. I like that kind of, I don't know, almost industrial look of that. So I think that's a good spacing. This will help me keep them uniform. Yep, I think that's it. And then the same between the loops. And then before this other loop, and I want to make sure it's far enough away from here that it doesn't, rub on there. And why am I using brass? Well, I'm using brass because these spots are antique brass, and in a short period of time, these will age and look like those. And you could do some treatments on it to make it age faster, but I'm not going to do that. The person that, or I'll say Jerry said he kind of liked the idea of a look of like a new buckle on a worn belt. So this kind of goes along with that new buckle look. So I think that's it. And so I created this jig so I would know what size hole works best for that post. And the 3.5, which is the 4th from the smallest on my rotary punch. So that will be, yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it there. Jump in here with both feet. Create the holes here in this first. A little chilly in the shop this morning. I don't know if you can hear my little heater running or not. I apologize if it's annoying. All right, let's get these loops out of the way now and transfer these spots for the loops to the back here. I'll make my marks for these holes. These are brass posts. I don't know if they have this same number or not as buckle guide, but they are BRB 12-1A-100. That goes there. Just trying to make sure I didn't forget something. I'll be able to slide that one on. So I can set these first two here without the loop in there. So let's do that. Try not to abuse my new countertop. I don't know if anyone noticed that's new there. I've got a chunk of steel plate that's quite heavy. It'll take up some of that shock of setting these. Got the loop on there. What am I forgetting? I don't want to have to remove these. I can put this one on, slide that down, put the next two in, slide this one on, and put the next two in. I think I've got it. I think I got it right here. And I've got this set of number 12s, which is what this is. So this will set the burr first. I think that looks good. The copper one's definitely easier to set. The brass is much harder, metal, making it more difficult to set. There are three pieces of this. One sets the burr. The other one, this one here rounds the cut-off portion. And I get it just kind of start to get it set, get a little rounding here. And I've seen different people set these differently. The next thing I do is I take my ball peen hammer and I flatten them slightly. And then I come back with the rounding tool one more time. And I'm going to feel for any spots that might catch on close and make sure I've got that done. Now, these spots here, or rivets, have a hammered look. So I'm going to come here and put some dings on here. All right, this end is set. And the distance between post rivets I'm going to use on this side is going to be the same as what I used on the other. Even though it had a loop in the middle of it, I think visually it looks good to continue that through here. I centered this the same way. Go ahead and create my spots on my belt body part here. And create my holes here. And put my strap on here. We're going to mark now for our adjustment holes. And I'm going to put holes pretty much to the end of this because there's a possibility that since this belt gets worn over garments, jackets and flannel shirts and such, that we may need more adjustments than normal than you would usually have, say, in a pair of jeans. Let me get this piece of steel out of here. If anybody's curious, when I bought it, it was by the pound, and it weighs 50 pounds. I call it kind of my portable anvil. I purchased that when I was doing blacksmith work. So let's go ahead and poke these holes through here. We are nearing the end here. Let's fit this the first time through here. This is how you typically do like a Ranger belt. This is tightened up pretty far, further than I think it will normally be worn. Yeah. I like it. I wet formed these. I went through and I took a tray of water and I dipped these loops without getting the belt completely wet. Dipped these loops in water to get them saturated, and then I forced each of the cartridges into there. And this is a 44, not a 45, so it goes in there. And I think I wish I had the actual cartridges that go in here. Next thing I need to do now that I made this belt all pretty is I need to abuse it and make it look less pretty. So let me grab some quote-unquote tools to do that. All right, so the first place I'm going to create some wear. When we put a belt through a buckle, you end up getting some wear here where it comes over this bend. Let me show you here. So when it's here and you're rubbing up against things here with your belly area, then there's going to be rub marks here that are going to, happen over time. We're going to start with something kind of gentle and see if we can get some marks on it here. Some variation in the sheen of the belt and some rub marks. So now I can kind of see how it's going to wear. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out here. And I'm going to put something underneath of it here that's going to be kind of the same thing. And we're going to create some of these wear marks. And we'll do that here between 3 or 4 of them here, kind of showing, progression of using it in different spots. Now, if you're using this, there's going to be wear marks here where each of these cartridges are going to sit, but the cartridges are going to, when Jerry starts putting those in there, he'll start to get some there. So I don't know that I need to do a whole lot there, but there's going to be, some wear on the, on here that is maybe not, exact, kind of depending on, how it's used. When I oil this, those will darken up as well a little bit, and I'll put some burnish there as well. I'm just going to work along here, trying to put some wear on here that would, maybe indicate use. And when I was inserting the shells up here, it kind of caught this top edge. I didn't worry about that because that would be some normal wear and tear there as well. And I think most people would say it's hard to create random wear. And yep, it fuzzed the thread a little bit there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put some oil on here. I need to oil the back here. The back is just that rough leather. So I'm going to oil this, kind of see how it darkens up in areas, and I'm going to continue to futz with it and abuse it. I guess you could put some gouges in it. I don't know that I'm interested in that, but let's see how this looks when I get oil on here, and I'll come back here in just a little bit. All right. So the fun part, or maybe the challenging part for a leather worker, is I'm going to abuse this leather now. And like this groove here, what I did was I took some denim on the corner of this, it's a rounded stick, but I just put wear marks in there like that. And then I've taken some 400 grit sandpaper and sanded over the top of it. And you can do it in reverse a little bit as well. The idea is to give this belt a worn look to it. And I've been working on it here for really longer than one would think. Just putting some random wear marks on it. Like here, I did the same thing. I created the wear marks. I've taken some sandpaper to the edges of these cartridge strips, and some of them I'll go back and put a burnish on there as well, so that it looks, you know, like it's been in the saddle for a while. So I'm going to continue working along here, and I'll bring you back when I get, I guess, kind of finalized. On distressing, you have to try to figure out when do you know that you're done. I guess when it's time to get it shipped. I'm not sure beyond that. And further oiling will darken up some of these areas where you've sanded on it, and you know, created a more open grain that becomes darker. So I'll be back here shortly. Well, there you go. I think that this will work. If not, we could always drag behind a pickup truck for a mile or two, get some additional wear in it. These cartridge loops here, let me show you some ammo in those. Well, there you go. I think it looks pretty good. Obviously, this is not the ammo that's going to be held in there, but it's a good representation of some of the size. These are longer, so the top of the other one's going to fit down against here, and it'll end about here. And the projectiles will stand out more because these are copper, and the others will be lead. Let's turn the camera around here for a bit. Well, there you go. I think it turned out really nice. This is the largest, as far as width belt that I've made. And I think it looks really good. I'm glad that Jerry reached out to me with the idea of making this cartridge belt for him. It's made in the Ranger style here, with the main body of the belt sliding in behind here like it would on a Ranger. The wear and tear on here, I think, looks pretty good. More could always be added. I guess, you know, when someone says make it look old, it's kind of a challenging thing to figure out how old it should look. But I think it's good. If I get a chance, I'm hoping to get some pictures from Jerry. If I've got them, I'll drop them in here towards the end of the video so that you can see how it looks. But I appreciate you taking time to be with me in the shop today. Please like, share, and subscribe. But more importantly, I hope you have a great day.